All right, so this video is to walk you through the development of the Academic Senate slideshow for an upcoming meeting. I dressed up for the occasion. Just kidding. I'm in interviews today, and we had a break, so I'm here to do this because our meeting is tomorrow. So I'll walk you through a whole bunch of things. Hopefully, they'll be helpful. If they're not, hey, you don't have to use them. If they are, wonderful. Hopefully, they will save you some time um, and make your job easier. So I'm just going to share my whole screen and just kind of walk you through everything that I see. Um, so here we are. This is I've got a few different folders that I've created. I've got a 2024 Academic Senate President folder that I've created. It's a shortcut that takes me into that. In there, I've got a folder called Academic Senate Meeting President. And by the way, you'll have access to all of these on the Academic Senate President laptop computer. So a nice thing to have. So hopefully I can help you out with this too. So this goes back a few years to when I started keeping records. I didn't get any real support materials from before, although our administrative assistant, Julie Bartolome, has the records, the official records of the Senate. So that's wonderful. But as president, I developed all of these materials myself. Hopefully you find them useful. Again, use them, change them. Hopefully you can just, maybe create something like I have, like past meetings or past president stuff if you totally change this system. But for current meetings, I've got a folder that's got information about our calendar for next year and stuff like that. I've got past meetings for this year from last semester. But then if you scroll down, I've got all of our spring semester meetings all here. I don't move the past ones until the end of the semester because I often have to go back to either look at what a past agenda had or other documents and things like that. I also create shortcuts to these so that I can see them more easily and I don't have to dig in so deep. So you can see here for AS meeting 2025 0506, that's May 6th. I've got a detailed the slideshow. I've got an agenda that is, ASEN, that's AS Academic Senate agenda. This is Julie's naming structure. I've just kept it, but I add details, digital and print based on what I'm actually working on. I'll go into what that is in a moment. I also created documents to upload folder. All these have been updated actually, except for the slideshow has not. So I'm going to move everything there because we need to upload the slideshow. And you can see the slideshow, I've got a document that's called Under Construction. I actually have uploaded one just so when folks click on the slideshow on our webpage, it shows that it's under construction as opposed to not having anything there. I do the same thing. I'll scroll down here. Where did it go? I might have overwritten actually. Oh, for the resource document. Resource document, you can see also I posted an under construction one that's since been replaced by the actual resource document for today's date or for tomorrow's meeting. That is May 7th, or sorry, May 6th. But I put some placeholders there just so it's not just for folks to click on. Let me correct myself. It's so that so that the link stays the same no matter where it is. So I just update the document that the link takes folks to. So all that being said, right, in terms of structure, well, maybe this will make a little more sense when we look at the details document. This is the agenda details. So agenda details might look kind of messy. It is. You might see a lot of colors. You should see a lot of colors. And there's a reason for that. I try to put all the links live in the digital agenda. It makes making the slideshow a lot easier. It also allows faculty, when they get the digital agenda, just to click on these and go straight to them. I can't put all the links to all the resources here, but they're all on the website too. I also provide a link to the website on here. I think I may not have actually, but scrolling back up to the top, you can see here I've got two headings. This top heading here is for the digital agenda that I create. I create a digital and a print version, as you saw before. This is the agenda that folks will download when they click the download agenda button on our website. Down below, I create a print version of this agenda that is built to be printed up on just one page. The digital agenda can take up multiple pages, and that's fine with me, right? As long as hopefully they're not printing it. And of course, they could print it. But the print version doesn't have the QR code and doesn't have the links. And it's smaller font, harder to read, but it helps us meet our Brown Act obligations. What's in hot pink? Those are things I need to update. Everything up here stays the same. But the resource document link, I update that for every meeting. And again, what do I link to? I link to the under construction document that I post to the website. So the first thing I really do as I get materials and resources is I upload them to the website. That makes my life easier when I get to this point of building the actual agenda. So I create a link to that. I create a link to the slideshow and the resource document. And as I said, they don't have to be done yet, but those links are there, and I can just update the document as I go, such as the slideshow that we're about to make. Down here, I've got to do after the meeting. These are my notes to make sure I follow up. I put a note there for you in the future when you have this. Also have hybrid logistics, things to be mindful of. Um, Here's some directions on how to use the current high flex classroom we're in. This might change, who knows. And then scrolling down, I have another note for myself for at the start of the meeting. Typically, I delete all of this stuff before the start of the meeting because I don't really need it. I want to have this to do after the meeting close to or easy to access. And I also want to make sure that I see this very clearly. This is where I might add a change to the agenda, invite guests to speak sooner or later, other things like that. Also, this other hot pink or magenta highlight here is to remind me that I need to update this. All the highlights in purple are things that I need to do next. Once I've highlighted this, I will take this off or change it from being magenta. I don't do that on the draft or on this details one at this point because I don't know if I've saved it yet for next week. So what I'll do is I'll fill out the agenda. And once the agenda is done or after the meeting, I'll duplicate it into the next meeting for 2 weeks down the line. That's to save all this information that's been updated. I can just move things around and it makes my life a little bit easier. But this is a reminder, no matter whether it's an old or a new agenda, I need to make sure that I update this. All right, same thing here, hot pink. So to make sure I've updated the meeting minutes. I have, so I can well, actually, let me make sure I have. It should say, yep, that was our meeting on no, this should be from 4/22. So this is clearly here because I haven't done it yet. So let me walk you through that. So I'm going to hit Command K. I'm going to delete that link. And I changed the language, I see, but I didn't change uh, the actual link. So let me go to the Academic Senate Committee page. And this will take us, and from here I can go to our meeting. Hard to get to the meeting pages any other way than that route. So here's what that website looks like. I've talked about a number of these links before. All right. So there's the draft of the minutes. We haven't gotten the final version yet from our secretary. So there's still draft form. Actually, no, for this week we did. Anyway, but they're called draft because they have to be approved by the body. So I copy the link here. I go in back to Microsoft Word, enter it in there and hit OK. So now that's been saved. So good thing I left that pink because that wasn't done yet. Now I can change that to no color. Okay. So going through here, you can see this is the agenda we've got. We've got links to the 10+1 and ACCJC standards that we need to make sure we're following in our agendas. This standard here is something that accreditors are going to be looking at and going back, like how is college governance ensuring that they're following our guidelines, or and also how are you meeting your guidelines? So the 10+1, those are our guidelines. All right, you can see all these things here. Okay, so what I do just to start the slideshow, well, let me just go through a little more here. I provide as many links as I can. Typically, I don't provide this many links here, but I didn't know how else to do it. So I wanted to make sure that folks knew we were going to be approving 4 different processes here. And I wanted to give them easy access to it as well. I could also just link them to the web page and then have like 4.5.2a, 5.2b, and label them that way. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so back here, and I've got the other links here. It shows time limits, who's doing what, and then my notes, right? So this is why it's called the details version. I basically create this document first, and then I go through and I delete all the notes, and then I go ahead and create the digital version and the print version in order. You're seeing the high-level document that helps me during meetings. I put things in highlight so that this is to guide Rodrigo when you step in to run this meeting tomorrow. Some things that, to be mindful of. Right. So all these things are here all the way through. More notes. These are second reads. Then we have reports. Right down here is my link. Let me make sure this is current. I want to make sure that it says the current resource document. And it looks like it is not current. So I need to update that. Oh, and I believe I updated this in the digital version, but I'm not positive. So I want to make sure I do that too. I'll check that offline later. So up here, I've got my AS resource stock for today. Copy that link, paste it in here. So this is kind of moot stuff. I don't know that I really need to be doing this because I think I caught all of these in the digital version, but I may not have. Okay, moving forward, and then we can see we've got our next meeting listed and other items. All right, but this is about how to make a slideshow. This is not about all this other stuff, although it's turned into sort of an overview document in general. All right, going back to PowerPoint. So what I've got here is I've got two slides. One that says the slideshow is still under construction. What I will do, I basically hid every single, as you can see, every single slide except for this one and this other blank slide until I update it, right? So now we're updating it. So now I can hide this slide and unhide the rest. On this second blank slide, this is where I've been adding the QR code that the Secretary Rodrigo sends me. So that when senators walk in the room, this will be on the board and they can just put the QR code there. No QR code because the last one is now no longer useful. So I'm going to select all these and I'm going to hit hide. And I'm going to select all still and then unhide slide. Of course, now I need to rehide this slide because I do not want folks to think this is under construction. This is now our actual slideshow. I'm going to keep this one up. I might have a more updated version of this. These I'm going to delete. I like to add slides at the end of flyers, posters that are very 10+1 related or really important to the overall mission of the college. This is just something I started doing. It's up to you how you want to do it. I usually show these in the first few minutes of the meeting before we actually come to call to order. I'll put them up before the meeting starts so that folks can see them. And if I have time or I remember, I'll toggle back and forth between the first, second, and maybe even third slide with information on it. All right, so I go through pretty processually from beginning to end to make sure I don't miss anything, although I do jump around a little bit. So I want to make sure, first things first, we've got the right date, so May 6th. I don't have to change anything else here, which is nice. Okay, and I can see here I got a QR code that takes folks to the Academic Senate webpage. I think it's also a link. I'm not sure. That would be nice, but a lot of folks don't download this. I guess on PDF they do. So we might as well go ahead and add that. Here's our website for this meeting. All right. Oh, that's just for the AS webpage. So we want to go back to the AS webpage. Let's do that. Sorry if all this bopping around is confusing you. Just going back and forth, toggling between my different programs. So I've just updated that. So now that is a live link. And then I'm saving frequently with my keyboard shortcuts, just so you know. All right. Oh, and by the way, this is not online. This is on my own computer. You might choose to do that differently. I'm just kind of old school and I like to have things on my computer in case things go wrong with Wi-Fi and whatnot. Okay, so now I go through the agenda and I go through and I look at the agenda that's on the slideshow and make sure it matches the agenda that's on my detailed agenda. So let's see. Go to the Word document. So I updated the minutes link, so I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to copy this link. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete that old link and I'm going to update it. And then I'm going to change the language because this is draft minutes for 4/22. All right, so that's current. Land acknowledgement, we always do that. Public comments are there. Action items. Now this is where I need to look into what we're doing. It's kind of weird that our agenda is numbered 5.1, 5.2. Microsoft Outlook is not great to work with, so we just stuck with, A, B, C, D. So that can be a little confusing to you, but as long as you keep track of it, it's pretty easy and straightforward. All right, so 5.1 is election committee seeking direction from AS body on AS officer election. So here I just put an abbreviated version of this. Folks should have it. This is not for any Brown Act requirements or anything else. I just want folks to see what we're talking about. So EC seeking direction from AS body. Okay, can I change, just have that? I'll just change to seeks direction from AS body. That way, keep it all in one line. We've got a busy agenda, so that's important here. I'm definitely not going to include all of these. Process review, I'm going to put on for last time, I think I had it under process review, budget process review, 4 items. Oh, it's right there already. I'll just use that. Put that there. I'm not going to have a link because that's to 4 different items. So I will just leave that blank. Folks can access that through the agenda if they wish. Then program viability process is next, and this might already be here. It is, but it doesn't have a link. So I'm going to save that formatting, the link there. I'll come back and fix the formatting in a moment. Moving on, then I'll do AP 7211. Let's see. And we've got number 5 and 6, resolution supporting part-time faculty and governance. And then this is number 6, student evaluation draft for our approval. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting pretty busy here. Hopefully a lot of these are going to go away. Might have to get clever with our formatting here in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to go through and make sure I've got all of the items listed here. I've got EC seeking direction. Okay, next is budget process review. Okay, next after that is program viability process. Got that. After that's AP 7211. I see that. Next up is resolution supporting. I see that. And after that, student evaluation draft. Student evaluation. Okay, cool. Everything's on there. Important to get everything on here. If it's not on here, you can always cover yourself by saying, hey, we're approving the agenda that you received in your email. We're approving the agenda. And that way, if there's a mistake here, you're not really held to it. Although even if you just say we're approving the agenda, it's like, well, this is just an overview. You can see there, it's not the actual agenda. Agenda is supposed to be have enough detail so folks know what they're looking at in the public, right? So you can see when we look at our agenda, you can see, this has a lot of detail what we're looking at, right? AP 7211, that's actually not very clear, and that should probably say more approving revised AP 7211, and that might actually say that on the actual agenda. Again, this is the details before it goes to print to digital or PDF or print. Before I make either of the agendas that I'm going to send out to senators or the college, I verify that everything makes sense. So this might not actually read this way on the actual agenda, but it works for our overview. Moving down now to our next section, discussion items. Items 6. So under 6, we've got curriculum committee updates. I know that's on there. Up next, we've got several first reads. Resolution in support of a mutual academic defense compact, an alliance for IDEA. That's definitely going to have to be shortened. I think I can change it to of a support of IDEA alliance. Now we've got Black Student Success Group. There are 2 items here. I think I can just change it to BS Black Student Success Recommendations. We'll change that to Rex. Next up, Budget Process Constituency Work Group Recommendations. These are all long titles. I'm going to change it to Budget Process Work Group Rex. Next, we've got asset recommendations. How are we going to shorten this? Let's see. Adjunct Task Force recommendations, we'll call it. We'll leave asset there in case folks remember what that was. Faculty feedback on Student Success Committee. Okay, we can just delete that because that's what we're looking at. I think that's enough information there. And then Professional Development Committee seeking input. I'm just going to go there. PDC seeking input. Okay, so that's everything here, and you can see it's way too crowded because we've got stuff going over into the agenda for 4/22/25. I'm going to fix that while I'm at it. Agenda for 5/6/25. Changing the link here as well. I want them to go to the digital one. Great. Delete and paste that and save. All right, so let's see. I'm going to first select all of this and make sure it's all the same size. It should all be 24, I think is what I use. Might be going down to 20 today. I use Trebuchet MS, where it looks like we're going to go to 20. And 20 works. All right, that works for me. Everyone can see that. It'll be nice and big on the board. Again, folks can see all of these things on their own agenda. Oh, I didn't finish though. We've got reports. Got to make sure the reports match. Going back to my detailed agenda. Reports. Reports listed as we've got my report as the president, which Rodrigo will be reading. And they're all, we don't need to list the minutes on this overview sheet. I do like to list the minutes on the slideshow though, so folks know how much time is going to be spent on things. So this is a very busy meeting, so I think we've moved all of our reports to a future meeting. All right. So they're all there. We're all good. Looks solid. Oh, I want to make sure this resource document link is accurate. And it's not. Again, it's probably accurate in the other one, but I'm going to have to check today to make sure folks have the right materials. So resource document. Copy link, paste it. There we go. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the resource. Yeah, the slideshow doesn't have the most updated one, so that's what we make sure of here. Okay. Moving on, we've got our land acknowledgement. There was just a movement by the College Council to say, let's shorten it and let's put this on our agendas, which is good. I'm glad I'm remembering that. It's not on our agenda this month, and it needs to be. Just this first paragraph or first sentence, actually. So I need to add that to our agendas moving forward. I'm going to need to make note of that. So what I'll do is maybe I'll highlight this slide for myself. Usually lets me do that. Not sure why it's not letting me. That's okay. Hopefully I'll remember to come back and do that. Okay, public comments. This one stays the same every time as well. So I don't need to do anything here. And here we go. This is where we start doing the work. So again, I just go back to my detailed agenda for this. I just copy and paste these links here. So first things first, EC seeking direction from AS body on AS officer election. Now, you'll note the formatting here. I've got bold at the top and then standard font below. You'll have to play with it and see what works for you. This is just a system that I've taken on myself. I've developed myself based on, kind of inspired by the previous Senate agendas. Okay, so going to a second line, so I'll delete that. And this is my item. Actually, it's Rodrigo's item. Or is this Carmen's item? It's Carmen's item. I'm gonna highlight Carmen's name here. There it is. And it's 5 minutes on this. And this is where I have my notes here. So I'm going to be putting two options down here. I emailed folks these two options. So I'm going to put them here. Okay. And actually, I'll delete that because that's in bold. It's going to be way too big a font. Got doing some cleanup here to see what I can do to make it fit all on one page. I also like everything to be the same size. So this is bold, size 24. This is not bold, size 24, and it's in black. So it helps folks follow along. So here we've got our two options that were laid out in the email. Try to be consistent by writing it once, copying it, and pasting it. So now folks have these options, and you'll see here in the notes, there's after limited or no discussion, you can entertain a motion to vote on these two options. I'll entertain a motion to ask senators to vote on one of these two options. That's what I would say. So I'm encouraging you to do that. And then we'll have to do roll call voting. Ideally do that quickly. It's going to probably take more than 5 minutes. We'll see. Moving on. Well, Carmen's going to be running that one, but you'll have to call for that motion and things. All right, moving on to 5.2, budget process review, budget processes review. Let's see. What I can do is I'll take from item 6. This is budget process review. I'm just going to take all of this because those links are all still functional. They're the same links, I believe. They actually take folks back to last week's meeting, and I'm fine with that because ideally everything would be on the new website, but it's tough to maintain all that stuff. So I figure it's already up there once. I'm good with that. We're just going to leave it as is. And I'm going to keep this because, oh no, this one already passed. And get rid of that. All right. So Brett Bell will be coming to speak to this unless you hear from me hear differently from me. Um, just copying that information. So we're good there. Actually, I'm going to delete that line. And then I'm going to copy this line. Actually, I'm going to copy this line because it also has the bullet that I like. There we go. I just need to make sure I change it to 5.3 and I change this content to something different. And this is program viability process. And I'm not going to have the following slides because folks got to see it last time. So if they have questions, they can address them to Patty directly here. But there's no need for them to share, for her to share slides. Okay, looks like we have enough room so I can put a line above that just to space things out a little bit. And I'm going to duplicate this page, making sure I'm on the right page. And I'll change this to 5.4. Delete that. Delete that. Delete that. Change that to 5.5. Turn that to a bullet instead. There we go. So what's 5.4? AP 7211. Okay, we did AP 7211 last meeting. So I'm going to just leave these here for now. I'm going to delete all of these. Okay. Go enrollment categories plan. We can delete that. All right, 6.5 to 7211. So I'm gonna, let's see, this is a picture, so it looks a little weird. Let's see how it carries over. So 5.4, just making sure 5.4 is the right 5.4. AP 7211, yes, it is. Updates. Okay, this is all good. This is a revised AP. I'm not sure if this is, oh, that's the older version. Earlier version. Okay. And then I want to make sure this one is the updated revision. I'm going to copy that picture again. I think I clarified in the email. I'll just make a note here. Lost my formatting, so I'm going to, as you can tell, I'm a stickler for similarity in formatting. And all right, so here we go. Now I'm going to make sure I copy. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this slide first. You do that by right-clicking on it, double-clicking. You can duplicate slide. Right? You may have noticed I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So glad I learned those many years ago. Had a guy worked at for his company, and he was shocked I didn't know them. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he showed me. I'm like, "That is really awesome." All right, so going back, I want to make sure I've got the most current version that I'm linking to here. AP 7211 final draft. All right, we're going to share this one here with folks and make sure this one is the right one. All right, we are good to go. I also want to make sure I capture that image that was down here. There it is. That was just the easiest way I could find to show with folks this change. Fine with my formatting. Thank you very much, Microsoft. I'll delete those things. Okay. So everyone can see it. See below for edit. Okay. Cool. And oops, I edited the wrong one. I'm going to drag this one down so it follows. So I've got 5.2, 5.3, 5.4. This will now become 5.5. Oops, and I got to make sure I got the names right. It's not going to be Pablo Martin on this one. It's going to be Rodrigo Gomez. As you can see, I try to go in order, but I don't always. Jump around a little bit. So I'm going to have to go back up to the top to see who's doing what here. So we've got Brett Bell, Pat Manley. Those didn't change. Rodrigo Gomez is here. So we've got that. Okay, I think I got 5 minutes for this one. This might be 10 minutes. 10 minutes because we didn't spend very much time on it last time. So if there's questions, I want folks to have that time. I've started getting rid of, presentation and questions and comments because generally we give folks time. We let them know what that time is for. Um, and we want to let them know they need time for questions. You might decide you want to go back to doing that if folks keep talking and not making time for comments. And then folks say, we'd like to extend time because then you're going to run out of time. But that's up to you moving forward. All right. All right. So back to 5.5. This is resolution supporting part-time faculty in governance. Oops. I think that was actually down here too, and that makes my life a little easier. I'm going to delete these. There we are. Just going to copy all that and go back up to 5.5. And this does not need to be its own line. So I'm going to delete it. And I'm just going to put it right here. Resolution supporting part-time faculty in governance. Right, I can delete all these lines below here and save. All right. Moving on to item 5.6. Let's make sure we've got it. Student evaluation draft for SDMC approval. This one is changed with a couple of edits to it. But that link is still the same, and that's fine for now. There it is. And this one you'll be discussing. Right. Oops. 5.6. Point tab over. And we want this tabbed over a little bit, but we want it all size 24. Cool. And that is good to go. Just change the name here to Rodrigo Gomez. And then we're going to add a little bit of information here from my notes. Which I should be doing for every one of these to make sure I've got everything. Let's see. Oh yeah, I made these changes here. I could have just copied those, but a little easier to do it that way. Okay, so here are the notes that I need to share. So this might be continued on another slide, right? So all I need to note the following things. We'll start with just this. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna make it match. All right, so basically, you get the idea of how this works, right? I just go through, update every slide, make sure it all works. And then at the end, I just spot check it and make sure it all looks good. When I'm finally done, I save it as a PDF and then I upload it to the website. But I'm not going to be doing that for a while. Well, I guess I can show you right now. So let's unhide or under construction, right? There we go. I'm going to save it as a PDF. There we go. And I'm going to say draft AS Slideshow. Actually, I'll just do that. All right, cool. It'll take a moment, I think, to save it like that. Maybe not. Seems like it's saving it very fast. There it is. I'm going to delete this old one just so I don't get confused. Right. Now I'm going to need to log in to my account here. So I'm going to go to a new page, website content login, and you'll need to do this for yourself with Kurt Hill. All right, so now I'm in. I can go back to these other pages and just refresh them, and then it'll show at the top that I can edit them. Cool. So I'm going to edit. And here's what I was talking about earlier. If you have a document or a link already there, because you have a document there, you can just replace the document, right? Like that, or edit. Down here is what I'm going to use for here. So AS Slideshow, I'm going to edit that. And it says replace file. So I'm going to hit choose file. And there it is. Saved it just a few minutes ago. Hit save. I generally don't upload more than one thing per area at a time. I'll do a bunch of documents in here, but all at once. Once I've uploaded one, I always hit save. I do not trust the system. So come back, and then we click on this. If you want to just double check and make sure it's right, It should open up. It should download, sorry, and then we can see it. There it is. AS Slideshow. All right, cool. All right, so that's it. If you've got questions, and I'm sure you do, let me know. And like I said, once you're doing this, it's do what you want, of course. But hopefully this helps you. All right.